Is GM working on moving truck production back from Mexico to the United States? Are we seeing the early signs of this? Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. I've been following the story for a while. I've been keeping an eye on what's going on in old Mexico. And I want to talk about this in this video. So I did this conversation last night live stream, but nearly an hour. You were forgiven for not watching the whole live stream. That went an hour. Trust me, I get talking. It takes long. Yeah, Jill and I talk about this stuff. Anyways, I want to do a smaller video on this. I want to talk to you through some facts. And at the end of the video, you can decide if these facts equal a master plan by GM to move truck production back, or are they just a bunch of random facts that don't really connect? Just, just a bunch of random facts. So let's talk about this. The story's over on pickuptrucktalk.com. And so I'm going to show you this. This GM Mexico truck plant shutdown gets extended. Uncertain future. Dun, dun, dun. That's my headline, because it is really uncertain future. I've been reading a bunch of articles about Mexico, what's going down there, what's going on, their automotive ideas, and what they see as their industry down there. It's really fascinating stuff. I don't know. I'm a nerd about this kind of stuff. So GM Mexico truck plant. I'm talking about the Slough facility. All right. So Slough is where they build the Chevy Silverado 1500 and GMC Sierra 1500 trucks. I don't know cabs and trims. I have an idea. I thought it was like fleet trucks and double cabs on there, but everybody's got different theories they're building down there. I know when I bought my 2023 Chevy Silverado 1500 High Country, I bought for the channel for the year. It was built in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So they have three really big truck plants: Fort Wayne, Indiana, they have Oshawa, Canada, and they have Slough, Mexico for the half tons. Flint Assembly builds heavy duties. So in July, the plant was shut down for 2 weeks. That's not unusual for General Motors. These other truck plants, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Flint, Michigan, Ontario, Canada, they also shut down for the same period of time. It's a very common thing. Seasonal shutdown, very common. What's unusual about the story, and Reuters pointed this out, was that the plant will also be shut down for the weeks of August 4th and August 11th. So 2 additional weeks on top of the standard seasonal shutdown. Now, GM PR told the media outlet this is nothing out of the ordinary. Scheduled down weeks at GM Slough are part of a standard operating process focused on optimizing production at our manufacturing complex. Yeah, wonk wonk, boring, text, boring quote from GMPR, but all right, standardized quote. But what makes the story a little more interesting is the additional facts that kind of surround what's going on with GM half ton or full size, whatever you say it, truck production, and it gets even more interesting. So there's also news GM is planning on building more trucks in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We knew this as well. They're adding more seasonal staff right now for the summer to build more trucks and retrofitting the Orion assembly plant in Orion, Michigan. I always say Lake Orion. That's when I'm growing up, it was always Lake Orion. They were going to build electric vehicles there. They're going to spend $4 billion, create a bunch of jobs. This is back in like 2018, I think it was. And now they're building full-size SUVs and trucks by 2027. They had a big announcement the other day at Auto News. They confirmed it. July 15th, they're going to build a Cadillac Escalade, a Chevy Silverado 1500, and GMC Sierra 1500 in Orion Assembly Plant. So isn't that interesting? So they're slowing down production a little bit in Slough. They're retrofitting the Orion Assembly Complex in Michigan to build more 1500s and some Cadillac Escalades, which, by the way, they don't sell that many Cadillac Escalades. So I imagine that plant's going to be a lot heavy, focusing on building full-size trucks. So that's interesting by 2027. So yeah, we're 2 years out. So the shutdown in Slough is probably not related to that too much, but it does seem like things are shifting a little bit because things are changing in Mexico. Yeah, again, spill something in your coffee. Clearly, I haven't had anything in my coffee this morning, but this is my brain is on fire this morning. So new tariffs and labor disputes, because it gets even more interesting. The situation in Mexico is anything but stable at the moment. On July 12th, which would be 4 days ago, U.S. President Donald Trump announced he would be putting a 30% tariff on Mexican-made goods coming to the U.S. to take effect on August 1st. However, with his announcements, we don't know what we don't know. Currently, automotive parts and vehicles are exempt, and it's unclear right now today if they will be in the future because he makes these announcements. I read the Truth Social posts, and we don't know. It's not clear what's going to happen with automotive parts and vehicles. Currently, they're excluded. And currently, Mexican production of car parts and vehicles is booming. In June, they exported a record number of vehicles. Production was up. But also, what's going on behind the scenes is the Mexican labor unions have been very active in recent months in trying to split away from Mexican government interference and raise wages to help workers to get out of poverty. Did you know about this? I did not know. Fascinating stuff. So, back when President Trump's first term was in office, he renegotiated NAFTA, which I really like NAFTA. NAFTA was easy for me to say. Now it is the United States Mexico Canada Agreement, USMCA. NAFTA was easier, man. Now, this took effect on, it was supposed to, he did the paperwork and did all stuff, but it was supposed to be on January 1st, 2025. So, January 1st of this year, workers are supposed to make $278.80 per hour. Okay, wait. That's Mexican money. It's approximately $13.76 in US dollars for most of Mexico and $419.88. Jeez, how many Mexican dollars? Approximately $20 US for northern border free zone. That says right along the border. Now, the Slough, Mexico plan is not within the northern border free zone, but the rest of Mexico is within this new pay grade. So they're supposed to make $13.76. That's all Mexican workers as of January 1st, 2025. That's all the Mexican automotive workers. And remember, cost living in Mexico is a lot cheaper. So this 1376 is actually the equivalent of the union jobs here in the United States. The union workers are making 40, 50 bucks an hour. The cost of living difference is it's actually the same amount of money. I know it sounds weird, but with cost of living changes, the union down there said that's equivalent to UAW jobs here in Michigan and Indiana and Texas, all different places here in the United States. So they were going to raise the Mexican wages up so the people were going to get out of poverty and be on par. But that did not happen. No. This spring, the spring of 2025, GM Mexico workers at the plant in Silao won, I believe it's Silao. Yeah, it's Silao. Won a pay increase on April 17th, raising the highest paid employees to $7 an hour US. That was a record wage increase. Let me see if this is Silao. I'm clicking my link. Yeah, Silao going to the plant factory. So they won a pay increase. So they were making $3 per hour. And then they had a double-digit increase to $7 an hour for the highest paid workers. These workers are spending an hour and a half on the bus to get to the facility, the plant, to work, and $3 an hour is below the poverty line in Mexico. So they were on the bus so long, they couldn't look for a second job. They couldn't work a second job, and they're below the poverty line. That's how much things sucked. So they were losing money. These workers here were having a bad time because they're spending so much time on the bus, not getting paid fair wages, and so they were having a bad deal. And the Sitna, this is a labor union down there. They said if they can continue their double-digit winning streak, workers could approach parity with some U.S. auto workers within a decade. Within 9 years, the highest earning workers could reach $16 an hour, which was part of the idea with USMCA, which the USMCA, by the way, is up for renewal next year. Okay, so that's what's going on down there. Okay, so now you may be wondering, what about inventory? Is it just an inventory shutdown? They have too many trucks? I thought the same thing. But if you look at this latest report from Kelley Blue Book, they talk about days on lot, supply of vehicles by manufacturer. And this chart, which is sometimes hard to see on your screen, I may do some stuff in post editing for you guys. It shows that the average supply of inventory by brand for June was 82 days. That's just the way they do the overall numbers. That's the statistic. So 82 days of supply. That means that's how many vehicles you have in the lots on average. And GM, which is like Chevrolet and GMC, are below the national average. You have Toyota and Lexus leading the way at very low supply. And then you have, if you guys are wondering, Ford is 101 days and Ram it's coming down. It was at 114 days. So overall, Chevrolet and GMC, which we don't know, I can't split up these things into trucks, was below national average. So they don't have a lot of inventory according to Kelley Blue Book's supply of inventory by brand. So what do we have? We have production slowing down and slow. We have workers earning more money. We have potential for tariffs hitting that as well. We have the Orion assembly plant adding more production. And we have supply dealership lots that, according to Kelly Blue Book, isn't overflowing. So we have a lot of facts there. But does that equal GM moving production back and changing stuff? What's really interesting is if you read the Mexican automotive, whatever trade group they have down there, they want to be a pivotal partner to the United States. They also want to be one of the world's largest automotive production countries. They want to be huge in as far as building vehicles, building automotive parts. They want to be part of the EV transition. They want to do battery factories. They want to be a big part of what's happening because they see automotive as a way to raise all of the Mexican people out of poverty and create better quality of life for everybody down there. Makes sense. Industrial revolution happening in Mexico. But interesting enough, people go to Mexico for cheap labor because the labor rates are lower. And so the labor unions are trying to raise rates, and the government has gotten involved. And there's some controversy down there because the government was kind of doing interference, trying to keep the labor rates low because that's the key advantage. So, really interesting stuff down there. So, I've been fascinated to read that stuff. It's been fascinating from the outsider point of view. I'm sure if I was down there, I'd be more susceptible to the labor union viewpoint. I'd be more susceptible to the government viewpoint. It'd be really interesting to see all the different viewpoints because I'm sure there's a lot of different factors involved. But that's why I pre this morning. I'm just kind of wanted to get all my brain, get you guys and have you guys interesting stuff of what's going on for GM truck production. Yes, yeah. That's my brain works this morning. Say, hey, for more videos, check them out over here. Website down below as well. Pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.